"Are you done? Now sit your ass down. I'm coming," I said as I went upstairs to wear something proper. I came down minutes later with my laptop and sat across from her. "Come and sit beside me. I want to show you something," I said while she stared at me, trying to know where this is going. "Well, come on, I'm not going to eat you up," I said casually while she reluctantly joined me in the couch. I showed her the CCTV footage I copied into my system. She watched it with utmost concentration. I could see the surprise on her face as she watched it to the end. She looked into my eyes with concerns written all over her face. I didn't say anything for a while. I wanted so much to touch her beautiful face, stroke her hair, kiss her passionately, and make sweet love to her. That's what my whole body craved at the moment. She was like a drug that I'm addicted to. I would have done one of those if I hadn't gotten my ass off that couch. I went and stood opposite from her almost immediately, with my hands clasped around my chest. "When was this?" she asked calmly. "It was in the morning of the day of my attack," I replied. "But it doesn't mean he ordered the hit on you. I mean, clearly from the footage, he was just being paranoid and jealous, and besides, he was with me throughout the evening," she argued, defending Kelvin. "I didn't tell the police that he orchestrated the hit on my life. I only showed them the footage, and they said they would invite him over for questioning. But if he told you that I am accusing him of attempted killing me, then he is one lying paranoid son of a bitch," I cursed angrily. She stared at me for a while. "So why didn't you say anything before?" she asked. At this, I had to sit down and explain things to her that I didn't plan to. "You were finally back together with the long-lost love of your life, and we were in a great place. We became pretty close, and I thought if I gave the police that piece of information back then, he would become the #1 suspect, and that might ruin our friendship. And you might probably hate me, because even though you were with Kelvin, I didn't stop for once to believe in the love I have for you, and I might have my chance with you one day, so I didn't want to burn that bridge. Plus, I didn't want the people and the media think it was a strategy to get to snatch you from him," I said solemnly. "So what changed? Why did you bring it up now?" she asked calmly. "Because you broke my heart," I replied, and I saw her shudder as she bowed her head. "If it's any consolation, I didn't mean to hurt you," she said, raising her head. "Yes, you did," I replied sharply. She was about to say something when her phone rang. "Hey, baby," she said on the phone to obviously Kelvin. I excused myself from the living room. I came back minutes later when she was done with the call. "I would like to take my leave now. I overheard that you left your car at home. It's already late, so why don't I give you a ride home?" "Oh, don't bother, I will catch a cab," she objected. "I wasn't asking," I said as I took my car keys and headed to the door while she reluctantly followed from behind. We drove in silent till we got to her apartment. A new apartment of your choice was also part of the package for being my proxy when I was in hospital. I stopped at the gate of apartment while she alighted from the car. "Good night," I said as I tried to reverse my car. "Wait," she said as I waited. "Do you hate me?" she asked as she stared deep into my eyes. "I honestly tried to, but I can't blame you for loving someone else," I said and drove off. I gave myself a day off in Thursday, as I wanted to spend it with Eva. I honestly did not know how to approach her about the breakup, I thought to myself as I drove to the airport to pick her. "Derek, honey, I've missed you," she called out loud as she ran into my arms. I really did miss her. She was one of my best friends, my gist partner. Seeing her now, I've realized that whatever I feel for her now is the same as what I feel for my sister Isabel. I smiled as I hugged her. "Did you miss me?" she asked, chuckling. "Of course I did," I said as I helped her with her luggages in the boot. Her parents don't reside in Lagos, so she would be staying in my house at least for the weekend till she leaves for Abuja next week. We talked about a lot of things on our way home. She was a talker, and there was never a dull moment with her. She was all about positive vibes. "I didn't cook anything, so let's go eat at Genesis Eatery," I said as I thought that was the perfect opportunity to start the discussion. "Wait, I have something I want to tell you," she said while I sat down beside her. "What's wrong?" I asked. "I had an affair during the film shooting in Ghana," she said bluntly. I was shocked and surprised. "Say what?" I asked to ascertain if heard right. "I know what I did was wrong, but I didn't plan to, and I'm so sorry," she said as she started crying bitterly. I didn't know what to say or how to react to that information. I looked at her. She was really sorry, and I couldn't get mad at her because I too wasn't perfect. "All right, honey, stop crying," I said. "So tell me, how did this happen?" I asked her. Well, it started when the lead actor was introduced as the legendary Jackson Tyler. She said, smiling, "What? The designated playboy Jackson Tyler was the lead actor?" I asked, shocked as I know his influence and the charm he has over the female counterparts. Even I learnt work from him when it came to flirting and wooing ladies. "So what happened?" I asked, really anxious to know what he has to do with this story. I was to fall in love with him in the drama, but ended up falling in love with him outside the shooting too. She said, "Ooh, not you too," I lamented. "I know, right? I mean, I tried so hard to avoid him, but he was everywhere. I didn't know when it happened. I swear I didn't mean to hurt you." She said solemnly, "Of course I know, honey. So tell me, do you love this guy? Like for real?" I asked as though a concerned brother. She nodded. "Yes, I do." She replied, "Now, does he love you too? Because I know Jackson. He is a playboy. I don't want you to get hurt." I said, "Yes, he loves me too. He even took me to his parents, and according to them, I'm the first girl he has ever brought home." She said, blushing. "Then I would like to meet him," I requested. "He came back with me to Nigeria. He is lodged in Echo Hotels. He too wants to see my people." She said, "This is serious." "All right, bring him over on Sunday," I said, smiling. Wow, this is definitely not how I envisioned the discussion to go. I'm so relieved and also happy for her. "Okay, so let's go," I said. "You also said you would love to talk to me about something. Let's hear it," she said, smiling at me. "Nothing, it's no longer important now," I said. "Of course, it's important since it involves Beverly," she said as I stared at her in surprise. "Who told her?" "I'm not blind, Derek. When I got back from Canada, the thought that you were still single melted my heart as I thought that who knows, maybe we were meant to be, but when I saw you with Beverly, I know there and then that we were never meant to be. It was you and her. The way you looked at her when no one is looking was special. You were in love with her, and she definitely has feeling for you. Am I wrong?" she said. I was speechless, didn't know what to say. "No, you are not wrong, but she said she doesn't feel the same ways." "So it's just me," I said, feeling a bit sad. "That's bullshit. You know that's bull, right?" she said. "Well, I don't know what to believe again. I'm officially tired of being heartbroken or being lied to." I said, "Trust me, she is definitely lying to herself. She will come around though. We were eating and catching up on old times at Genesis when Kelvin walked in with Beverly. Speak of the devil, and I pointed at them as they walked in. I honestly don't care anymore, and I want to eat my lunch in peace," I said as I ate my food. "So how is the investigation coming up?" Eva asked, while I told her everything that has happened. "Yeah, the images and information of the robbers are everywhere. It will not be long before they are caught," she said, reassuring me. "We were minding our business when Kelvin walked to our table to rant like a deranged fool. Do you think telling the police about our tiny arguments will make any difference in your dead-end investigation?" he said. "You mean the confrontation where you threatened to end me?" I fired back. "You're a coward, a sore loser. Because you couldn't get Beverly, you now think you can ruin my reputation. Better think again," he said scornfully. I kept quiet, didn't say nothing. I was biding my time. A lot of people were watching, and I sure as hell didn't want any unwarranted attentions on me. "You better shut your mouth, shitbag," Eva fired back. "You think you can walk in here and start talking gibberish, wait till the robbers are caught, then we would know if you are really innocent. And as for you, Beverly, you better cut whatever ties you have with this douchebag, cause he's playing you. You obviously don't know you're not the only one he's banging, right, or," she said. I saw the look of shock in Beverly's face when she heard these parts. She turned and stared at Kelvin, who outrightly denied it. "Let's get the fuck out of this place, Derek," Eva said as I paid the waitress and left. I've never seen Eva this mad before. We got in the car, me and Eva. I turned and looked at her smiling. "What was that all about?" I asked her. "That guy is a designated asshole," she said, fuming. "Trust me, I know," I replied, laughing. I drove off from the parking lot. "Why haven't you told Beverly all the nasty things you know about Kelvin, like the fact that he is cheating on her with anything in skirt? That way she can make a choice, either to continue with serial cheat or choose a handsome gentleman that is willing to give her some sweet love such as yourself," she said, smiling. "Well, I don't want to be the one to spill the beans. She got to do the work herself," I chipped in. You know, Beverly is a smart, beautiful lady, very charismatic, but makes poor choices when it comes to men, Ava said. You know, the first day Ava walked into my office for her interview, I was starstruck by her beauty. When she smiled, I swear I just froze. She has this perfect dimple on her 2 cheeks. Her personality humbled me. I said without knowing that I was blushing this whole time. Or, you could have seen your face right now. You were totally blushing, she said, smiling, while I laughed and continued. But lately she seems really reserved and quiet. I sometimes feel like she's sad. You know, I could swear I saw a bruise on her face the other day. I asked her about it, but she said that she jammed her head on her house burglary. I said, but deep down I feel like something wasn't right. I have a bad feeling about it though, I said. You honestly don't think Kelvin hits her? I mean, he can't be a cheat, and at the same time a woman beater too, she said with concerns written over her. If he ever lay his hands on her, I swear I will kill him, I said as I pulled over at a cinema house. I bought a ticket for us to watch Fast and Furious 9 that was to air that day. I couldn't shake off what Ava said to me as I drove to Echo Hotels for the workshop I was hosting. My company had planned send-off party for all the interns in the company today. I had it to be custom in my company, a day to appreciate and celebrate all the interns with a little token for all their hard work during their time with us. I always make myself available to be around each year since I was the one hosting it, but this year I was hosting a workshop and honestly, I didn't want to be around when Beverly leaves. I'm never good at goodbyes. My workshop ended around 3 p.m. I drove home to get some rest and a much-needed sleep before hanging out with the boys tonight at Sleek Lounge. I quickly remembered that I needed to take some files home for review. I wanted to put a call through to my secretary to tell her to bring it to my house, but I looked at the time. It was already past working hour and she might have probably left with other staff, including Beverly, so I reversed and headed to the company. I got to my office, took out the files from the drawer, went and stood by the window and going through it to ascertain which ones to take home. I was still there when I heard someone open the door. I turned. It was Beverly holding a small envelope. She was startled on seeing me, as she never thought I would be at the office today. "What are you doing here?" I asked. "I wanted to drop something for you. I didn't know you would be around," she said calmly. "And what is that?" I asked. It's a letter I wrote for you about something I couldn't say, or rather things I didn't have the courage to tell you in person," she said solemnly. I could see that same sadness in her eyes. "I just don't know why it's there." "Are you happy being with Kelvin?" I asked. I honestly didn't know when I blotted out those words. She gave me a dry smile. "Of course I am," she said. And then and there I knew that she was lying, because she is a terrible liar. "Thank you for everything you did for me for the past 6 months," she said, coming so close to where I stood. "You were the best employer any employee could have asked for," she said as she hugged me tightly. I wrapped my arms around her. "God, I'm gonna miss you so much, B," I said softly into her ears. "Goodbye," she said and turned without making an eye contact with me. I could swear I heard her sob a little when we hugged. I looked at the floor. I saw some tiny drops of tears on the tile. Why was she leaving when it hurt her so much? What was she hiding? I thought to myself. I wanted to go after her, but I controlled myself. I always believed that if things are meant to happen, it will eventually happen. I stayed for a while before leaving, taking the envelope with me. I took a long nap before going out with my guys. I was clubbing with my men, but my mind wasn't there. I was thinking of Beverly and that letter. Immediately, it was 10:30 p.m. I told them that I was leaving. "But you just got here, man," Tony queried. "I know, but I don't feel good. So I'm leaving," I said and left. I got home a few minutes later, showered and took the letter to my room. I lay on the bed as I read her letter. "Hi, if you are reading this now, that means I've left. I sneaked into your office to drop this while you were away on your workshop. There are a lot of things I would love to say to you in person, but I couldn't get myself to tell you. I want to start by saying that I will forever be grateful to you for being the best employer I could ever ask for. No wonder you were the best in what you do. You took me to places I only dreamed of. You easily became my closest friend. You made me feel special. How could I ever repay you? I also have a confession to make. I lied about my feeling. I've lied about a lot of things you've asked me, especially how I feel about you. Honestly, I feel incredibly attracted to you, and I find myself always drawn to you. No matter how hard I fight it, I've been in love with you as much as you have been with me, and I don't regret it. Though I regret hurting you by lying to you, I never wanted to, and it breaks my heart whenever I see you hurting. I know you think I choose Kelvin over you, but my heart has always been with you. Kelvin was there for me in the past, when no one else was. When everyone abandoned me, he loved me even in my poverty. He loved me even when I couldn't love myself, and he still came back for me. But my heart had already belonged to another, and that is you. So being with him was the only I could show my gratitude and repay him. I hope you understand and forgive me. I love you, Derek and Zediego. I will, always will, take care of yourself and please don't look for me. Yours, Beverly Daniels. I didn't know when tears ran down my cheeks. She really did love me after all. I knew it. But you can't stay with someone out of loyalty and pity. I screamed as ran downstairs, took my keys and headed to her apartment. I called her line, it was switched off. It was already late, 11:15 p.m. I got to her apartment only to be told by the angry, sleepy gateman that she packed out that afternoon. I slumped on the floor. I drove home few minutes later. On my way home, I was really sad and really happy at the same time. I was happy that I wasn't wrong all this while about how she felt for me, that Beverly, the woman of my dreams, had loved me back all this time, and it wasn't my imagination playing tricks on me. But on the other hand, I was really sad because I couldn't get a hold of her. The fact that she couldn't even consider her own happiness because of some debt she thinks she owes Kelvin for loving and taking care of her during college years. Staying or marrying someone out of pity or loyalty without love being the main catalyst is the worst feeling ever. Because you will never be happy with that person no matter how you try. You will never allow yourself to fall in love or be with someone else, even if you want to. Because then it will feel like you are doing something wrong or bad whereby you aren't. That really is a sad way to live, and I couldn't even begin to imagine what Beverly is going through in that sham of relationship. And to think she is trading her happiness for someone that cheats on her without remorse makes me sick. I got home. I couldn't sleep as I rolled on the bed till it was morning. It was a Saturday morning and didn't feel like doing anything. So finally I slept off around 6 a.m. I slept till it was 11:45 a.m. and I only wake up because my phone was ringing non-stop. It was my sister Isabel calling, "Hey, what is it?" I said, obviously annoyed for waking up. "Good morning to you too. Come and open your door. I'm downstairs," she said and hung up. Only sisters are really pain in the ass. And went downstairs. I opened the door for her and headed upstairs without saying a word to her while she followed like a sheep following its shepherd. I fell on the bed on getting to my room as I wanted to sleep in. You can't possibly be sleeping by this time of the day. It's almost 12 p.m, you do know. I'm not here on a casual visit, right? We are supposed to be reviewing all the financial report we've done since you were admitted in the hospital till last week, and you are the one that scheduled this meeting by 12 p.m, and it's almost time, but here you are yet to brush and shower," she queried. "I've already forgotten about the meeting, but this is definitely not a good time for me to engage in any meeting whatsoever. I just want to sleep and forget the pain I'm feeling in my heart." Why don't we reschedule to next weekend?" I said nonchalantly. "Are you forgetting we are supposed to be in Geneva by next weekend for the World Business Convention, so you better get your lazy ass up from that bed. Shower so we can get this meeting over with, cause I got somewhere I need to go with my boo this afternoon." She fired back, dragging the duvet with me. "Isabel, I can't do this right now," I said quietly. "Why? Is something wrong?" she asked, now more calmly. I guess she could sense the change in my voice. "Because I'm in so much pain right now," I said. On hearing this, she rushed to my side. "Are you hurt? Should I call our family doctor?" she said, feeling genuinely worried. "I'm feeling enormous pain in my heart," I replied. "Or, Derek dear, does this pain has to do with Beverly?" she asked. I nodded and handed her the letter as she collected it and read it in silence. After going through the letter, she gave me that look that a mother gives his son that is in pain. "Oh, Derek, honey, you know what? The meeting and the financial report can wait. We can do it some other time. I will call and tell my baby to reschedule our date. Right now, let me take care of you," she said as she dragged me from bed to the bathroom. "Clean up and come down. I'll be making you a nice yummy breakfast," she said as she turned to go. "Thank you, Isabel," I said. "You are big brother and I'll do anything for you." She smiled and left. I came down 15 minutes later as I had to get my room in order. I came down with the whole living room smelling of scrambled eggs and hot coffee. She made my favorite breakfast of scrambled eggs, toasted bread and coffee. "Aren't you eating with me?" I asked. "No, I'm good. I ate before coming," she replied. "All right then, thanks for the meal though," I said as I helped myself to the eggs and bread. "So how did it go with Eva? Did you later tell her everything, and how did she take it?" she asked. I almost forgot that Isabel can talk for Africa. Couldn't even allow me to finish my breakfast in peace. "Can I at least finish my breakfast?" "Isabel," I told her. "Oh, of course, sorry." I finished the meal and then I narrated everything to her, starting from when I picked her from the airport, to when Kelvin rudely interrupted our launch, and to when I dropped her off at Echo Hotels, where she would be spending some time with her new boyfriend. Isabel laughed so hard when I narrated to her the incidents that went down between Eva and Kelvin and Beverly. "Tell me she didn't just call Kelvin a shitbag," she said, laughing. "Oh, she definitely did more than that," I affirmed. "Baby girl has always been the savage queen since our college days," Isabel said, laughing hysterically this time. I had so much fun with Isabel that it lifted my spirits and soul that I didn't even know when we finally had the meeting. She was always my favorite person, her and Eva. She later left in the evening, but not before giving me some much-needed advice. "I know what's on your mind now is how to go see Beverly at Unilag, but please don't. She is away for a reason. Whatever is meant for you will always come back to you, including Beverly, because I know she is meant for you, so don't overthink it," she said solemnly. "You know, sometimes I do forget that you are my baby sister and not the other way round," I said as I hugged her. "Take care of yourself and good night," I said as she left. I drove to the office at around 8 a.m. I had shifted some PA work to my personal secretary against the advice of my board to get a new professional personal assistant. To me, I don't need another personal assistant except Beverly. If it's not Beverly, then it's no one else. Her job will be here for her any time and any day she comes back. I was doing some work on my system when my phone rang. It was the DPO handling my case. The DPO gave me the good news I've been longing for. They have finally caught the criminals, though some of them were gunned down when they opened fire at the policemen, but most importantly, their ringleader and his second were caught alive as they tried to escape. "So did they say who hired them?" I asked anxiously. "Your guess is as good as mine," the DPO said. "So it was Kelvin after all, I knew it." "Yes, they confessed that he hired them initially to tail you before finally giving the kill order. Thankfully they failed. You better come down to the station. I've informed your father. He said he is on his way with his lawyer." "I'm coming right away," I said and hung up. I got to the station 30 minutes later with shouting and barking from every corner of the police station. I saw Kelvin sitting comfortably behind the counter and my dad exchanging brutal words with Kelvin's father. "What's going on here, Dad, and why is Kelvin not thrown into the cell?" I asked, looking angrily at the DPO. "There is nothing Mr. DPO can do in this situation because my client is innocent of the charges leveled against him. There is no substantial evidence whatsoever tying him to your attack except the words of some criminal that might have been coerced to lie and slander his name," his lawyer said as he was signing some paper. "And what is that supposed to mean? The criminals confessed that he hired them. What evidence do you still need? Was it not what you said, DPO?" I said, turning angrily at him. "Calm down, my son. This is not yet over. We are taking this to court," my dad said, patting me on the back. I was so angry. "Where is he going? He is supposed to be detained till this case is taken to court. He is a goddamn criminal," I said, fuming as I saw him coming out from the counter. "The police has no right to detain my client, and he is innocent until proven otherwise in the court of law," his lawyer said while he made his way out of the counter to where I stood. "This is not over, Mr. Benson. Your son will be tried and jailed for a very long time. The fact that you are the chief of staff will not apply here as far as I'm concerned." My dad blew hot. "Is that a threat?" Mr. Benson asked. "No, it's a promise, Mr. Benson. My dad said I went to where Kelvin stood. The sight of him makes me sick. The fact that he is not getting the right punishment he deserves makes me mad like hell. This is definitely not over, far from it," I said to his face. "Cry me a river," he said as he laughed hysterically. I felt like punching him, but held myself. "Let's go, Dad," I said as we left. I drove to the office filled with rage and anger, so much so that I wanted to punch things. I was held up by traffic when my secretary called me. Yes. I said, "Sir, our partner from Europe has arrived and are in the conference room already." She said, "Tell Isabel to start the meeting, I'm on my way." I said and hung up. I arrived at the company few minutes later, rushed into the elevator. I was definitely not in any mood for any meeting, not to talk of meeting of this magnitude, but I needed to get my A game on if I am to convince my board and partners to sign off on the fund needed for my new hotel and resort project. Ladies and gentlemen, my apologies, I had an emergency, so shall we continue? I said as I walked into the conference room. The meeting ended 2 hours later. After much deliberations and signing of documents, the hotel and resort project was given the green light to go ahead. I entered into my office after seeing off my partners to their convoy. I sank into my chair in the office as I played back in my mind everything that happened at the police station. I remembered vividly how Kelvin laughed in my face and the built-in anger and rage came back tenfold. I couldn't help but scream out loud, "Ah!" as I hit my fist on the wall repeatedly till my fingers started bleeding. The blood made a mess on my wall paint. I took my phone, wanted to snatch it on the wall when I saw the beautiful picture of Beverly smiling at me. I had used her pictures as my phone wallpaper, lock screen photo. Looking back at her beautiful face, it made me calm. My anger subsided and my rage disappeared. "Hang in there, honey. I will take you away from that monster, I promise," I said to her photo. I put a call through to my secretary. Get me a painter, my office needs painting. I was still on the intercom when my dad's call came in. "Hello, Dad," I said, "when you are through with your office work, stop at the house first before going to yours. We have a meeting with the lawyer." He said, "All right, I will be there in an hour time." I said and hung up. I left the office and went to our company's infirmary to get my right hand looked on by the physician. It received some injections for the pain and was later bandaged. I drove to my dad's house at around 6 p.m., very stressed and tired. "Good evening, Mum and Dad," I said as I walked into the living room. "Oh, my darling boy, what happened to your hand?" My mum asked, panicking. It was an accident," I lied. "An accident indeed, my boy," my dad interrupted while reading himself his newspaper. "Come on, Dad," I said, trying to get the old man off my back. "Seems the barrister is not yet here," I asked, yawning. "He will be running a bit late. He is having an important meeting with the Attorney General of Police and the DPO concerning the case," my dad said. "All right, so in the meantime, Mum, I'm hungry," I said, making a face of a hungry 10-year-old boy, which normally makes her smile. "Go up and freshen up. I prepared tomato sauce and yam for you, just the way you like it," she said. "Yummy." "Thank you, Mum," I said as I kissed her on the cheek and went to my old room. I was almost done with my meal when the barrister walked in with the private investigator. I joined them in the living room few minutes later. The barrister narrated to us how the meeting went, and I was uncomfortable with what I was hearing. "So what are you saying, barrister? When are we filing the lawsuit? When are we taking this case to court, because I can't wait for that scum to experience life in prison?" I asked anxiously. "Well, I'm afraid it will not be any time soon, because of this afternoon, the Ministry of Justice announced that they have embarked on a 3-month warning strike," the barrister said. "What the heck? This is definitely not a coincidence. Of all days, why today? Why now?" I lamented, "That not possible, barrister, because I personally made sure the bill to improve the budget of the Ministry of Justice was passed. As a matter of fact, the bill was passed last week Monday, while the ministry agreed to hold off their strike for at least the next 2 months. How did this happen?" my dad asked, obviously puzzled. "Well, that's according to the minister, and I suggest you take it up with him," the barrister said. "Oh, I will definitely call him when we are done here," my dad assured. "So what about the investigation? I hope the officers in charge of the case are still investigating Kelvin," I asked. "Unfortunately, the attorney said that an order came from Abuja for the investigation to be dropped till after the strike," the barrister said. "By who?" my father asked, very surprised. "From the office of the presidency," he replied. "This is preposterous. How can the president obstruct and end an investigation of this magnitude? I smell propaganda," my mum said. "Don't worry, my son, I will take care of this. I will travel to Abuja tomorrow to know what's happening," my dad said. Well, it's pretty obvious that's Kelvin's father being the chief of staff to the president and his uncle being the vice president are using their power to frustrate and compromise this case. The barrister chipped in. I don't care if his dad is Donald Trump and his uncle Queen Elizabeth. I will not let this slide. If I have to call out the president for aiding and abetting an obvious criminal, then so be it. No one, I repeat, no one will use my case to play politics. I fired back. Derek, son, don't do anything rash, my dad said. It is a good thing that I'm not a Nigerian security personnel. That way I can investigate this case quietly without drawing attention. Say like undercover in the hood where the criminals used to operate. That way I can get information the police couldn't. Park said, I am giving the police Dept in charge of this case 4 weeks to get on with the investigation, or I will be forced to tell the whole world, the media and every press in the country, what they will love to hear. I threatened. The order is from the office of the president. They can't renegade unless they would lose their job, the barrister said. And I'm a fucking Spanish national with strong ties with the president. And if Mr. Vice President doesn't get off this case and allow the police and the Ministry of Justice do their job, then I will use all my powerful international contacts to ruin and frustrate his tenure in the office. I hope you tell him that when you see him tomorrow, Dad, I said angrily as they all looked at me in shock. I will be leaving then, I said and left. It was already past 4 weeks and I haven't heard anything from the police or anyone connected to the case. I was getting impatient and restless. So I made up my mind to go live on my Instagram handle to tell my story to my 30mm fans worldwide. I had also notified all the media companies in Nigeria and abroad about the breaking news I was about to share. I began. As you all know, I was hospitalized for 7 weeks at the General Hospital Lagos. Because of an attack on my life, the police had really had to capture the criminals, and they have identified the culprit that hired them. I said as I uploaded the CCTV footage of him threatening me in my office. He was the one the criminals mentioned, and today all of a sudden courts went for strike, and the police investigating the case were asked to drop it. An order that was said to have been given from Abuja, just because his father is the chief of staff to the president and his uncle the vice president. The confession from the criminals was disregarded. But this is a promise to whomever that is trying to play politics with this investigation. It will definitely not end well for you, I said, and ended the live feed. The news was all over the social media, television stations in the country leading the trend. There was uproar and unrest in the government house. Questions were being asked as to why the sudden strike by the Ministry of Justice and why the investigation was stopped. The office of the vice president was threatened as citizens were calling for his head. I hated media paparazzi and attention, but right now I don't really care. My dad had to hire bodyguards for me because of the press and anyone that will use that means to bring me harm. I was in my office working when I heard a knock on the door. Come in, I said without looking up to see who was entering. Your news is everywhere, the voice said, smiling. I remembered the voice. I looked up, it was Beverly. I left what I was doing and stood up immediately. She looked really beautiful. I didn't know when I rushed to where she stood and kissed her passionately while she kissed me back. I could care less if anyone walked up on us. That was how madly I was in love with her. We kissed for a while, and this was definitely by far the longest I've kissed her. I stopped and looked at her beautiful face. I wanted to be sure that I wasn't dreaming, that I wasn't seeing things. She gave me those beautiful smiles that always give me goosebumps. I love you, she said, and I froze. I had loved her for a very long time now. We were both attracted to each other, and I've wanted her to love me the way I've loved her, to show it and to say it. And now that she did, and I didn't know what to do or say. Suffice to say, I was speechless. I stared at her speechless while she strokes my face. Well, say something, she said, smiling. I pray and hope that I'm not dreaming, I said, and this time she was the one that kissed me passionately. I hope this is real enough, she said. I was so happy that I carried her up and whirled her round the office while she laughed heartily. I brought her down few minutes later. She held my face with both hands and said, "But." I interrupted her, cause I definitely will not like whatever that followed it. "But what?" I stammered all of a sudden, which made her laugh heartily. "Oh, you look so cute when you're scared like that. Anyway, I love you so much that sometimes it feels that my heart is gonna burst. But we can't be together just yet," she said. "Why, I thought you and Kelvin are done, that you guys broke up," I asked. "If I broke with him entirely, then I wouldn't be able to do for you what I needed to do. So I just asked him to give me some space," she said, now more serious. "So what is it that you need to do for me?" I asked, now more anxious. "It's on a need-to-know basis, and right now you don't need to know. Plus, that is not entirely why I am here," she said, dragging me to my seat. I sat down, while she sat opposite to me. "So please tell me, why else are you here if not to confess your love for me?" I said sarcastically. She laughed, and just then I noticed that the sadness I saw 3 months ago was no longer there. She looked genuinely happy. That thought alone melted my heart. "Aren't you cute? Anyway, I was hoping if the offer to do my NYSC in your company is still up," she asked humbly. "Oh honey, of course. Have you registered your NYSC yet?" I asked, obviously excited. "Yes," she answered. "All right, I've got a call to make," I told her as I put a call through to the chairman of the youth corps. He was a family friend. "Hello, Uncle Bello," I greeted. "Derek, my boy, how are you and how are your parents?" he inquired. "They are fine, sir," I replied. "So what do I owe this call, young billionaire?" He said. He always called me young billionaire even before I become one. He was one of the few people that believed in my potentials, apart from my parents. "Actually, sir, I need a favor from you. I have a candidate that I need to be posted in my company during her youth service. She was my PA during her time here doing her internship. She was brilliant, so I would like to retain her," I said. "All right, my boy, send me her details in my email. I will take it from there," he assured. "Thank you, Uncle Bello. Have a nice day," I said. "Anything for you, young billionaire," he said and hung up. "Well, that should do it," I said to Beverly, who looked at me in awe. "Money is really good, but connection is even better," she said, and I smiled. "She is undoubtedly the smartest lady I know. Can I ask you something? Actually, it's 2 questions, and I need you to be honest with me." I said, "All right, go ahead," she replied. "What was the exact reason that made you break up with Kelvin? And secondly, what is it that you need to do exactly in order to help me?" I asked, "Okay, I know you wouldn't drop it, so what the hell? I will just out with it. I broke up with Kelvin temporarily when I saw you go live on your Instagram IG, and I confronted Kelvin and asked him, but he lied to me outrightly." She said solemnly, "How do you know he lied and wasn't telling the truth?" I asked, "'Cause I know you, Derek. You are a man of principle, integrity, and decency, and I know you would never hurt or frame someone or even accuse someone falsely. You are the most honest man I know," she said calmly. And I felt loved and lucky to have her in my life. "Wow, thanks a lot for the vote of confidence in me. So how did he take it? I mean, you believing me instead of him?" I asked. "Well, he definitely didn't take it lightly. And about the second question, I think you should call a meeting with the people investigating your case because the second answer will be vital in your case," she said. "Now I'm more curious to know exactly what that answer would be." Okay then. How about we go grab some lunch, hang out, and maybe around 5 p.m. I will take you to my dad's. There you can tell your story," I said. "All right, let's go," she said. We left a few minutes later. I had so much fun with her. I was happy. Actually, the happiest I've been for months. She was my kryptonite after all. We got to Dad's house around 5:30 p.m. My mum was very excited to see Beverly. She couldn't even hide it. "Oh, Beverly, honey, how have you been?" my mum asked. "I'm fine, Ma," she replied, a bit surprised with the excessive hospitality. "Here, come sit with me," my mum said as she took Beverly from my arms to the couch in the living room. "So, Miss Beverly, Derek said you have some information that would help us with the investigation. We will like to hear it," our family lawyer said. "Kelvin is sick, is been very sick for a very long time now. He is a bipolar patient," she said, staring at us in the room to access how we took this disturbing piece of information. That was the reason why his parents shipped him off to Canada after our college graduation. I only found out about his health conditions few months back. I found bottles of drugs in large quantity in his closet, so I ran some of the names of the drug in the system and found out that it was a suppressant for bipolar disorder, she said calmly. I could feel the sadness in her voice as she spoke. "So, what has thus got to do with the case?" I asked. Find out in the next episode. You can't afford to miss it. Was Beverly able to help expose Kelvin? Was the police able to arrest him? What happened to Derek and Beverly? Did their love blossom, or was it truncated by Kelvin and his cohorts? Was Kelvin's father, the chief of staff, exposed for aiding and abetting? These and more you will find in the last episode, which will drop here in 2 days. If you enjoy this story, please support our channel by giving us a like and comment, share with your friends, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more video like this. Also, kindly follow us on Facebook. Stay positive and don't give up on your dreams. It will come to pass. Thank you for watching.